Greetings YouTube, Captain Machine here, back for another review. I did promise I would hit them pretty hard, so I'm going to get started straight away by tying into something that Chromemagnus has done. I'm being a bit of a fanboy for that boy at the moment. Basically, he has had the decency to go out and do a review on Deadlands, which is a highly entertaining system, the review of which will be down below. Basically, what I'm here to talk about today is Deadlands Reloaded, which is the Savage Worlds conversion. Now, Savage Worlds is, as I've said before on one of my videos, a very basic, bog-standard role-playing game with a very pulpy feel behind it. And the origins of the Savage Worlds system is actually Deadlands. Deadlands was much the same way a system that Savage Worlds is now, just more complicated. Yes, it did have a system for generating characters using playing cards, which was highly entertaining. It did have a fantastic magic system for hucksters, where you played poker with, invisible demons to get your powers. Also the chip system as well for either boosting your stats or re-rolling dice, things like that. You also got guts points as well for complete adventures, which you could trade in at your character's demise for a one-shot roll to see if you came back as, I think it's a Reverend, I think it was called, Reverend, which is basically an undead cowboy. And it was a lot of fun. Right, okay, so next, that particular system got released 3 times because they did a follow-up to it, which is a modern day version, and they did a futuristic version as well, all in the same timeline. And then they did a D20 version, obviously, because everything had a D20 version, which much to a detriment, because D20 is really good for fantasy, but that's about it. Yeah, so eventually Pinnacle Games, the owners of the license, took the Deadlands systems, cut it down, turned to Savage Worlds. And even if you actually looked in the original Savage Worlds rulebook, you actually saw some Deadland pictures, because they were part of, they were part of it basically. So it was no shock to anyone when they announced Deadlands Reloaded, which would be Deadlands using the Savage Worlds system. So it's basically a massive circle return to form. So, why should you get Deadlands Reloaded if you are thinking of getting Deadlands at all? Well, first of all, it's in print. It does meet my criteria of only reviewing things that are in print. It's got one supplement just come out for it, which I believe is an adventure. But the honest truth is that any background material you can get from the old Deadlands will be appropriate and will still work. It's not a setting reboot. It's not a huge jump forward like Forgotten Realms 4th edition is. Basically, Deadlands, sorry, I keep getting them too confused, I do apologise. It's one of those peculiar systems whereby being the canon progresses on a year-by-year basis. World of Darkness did this, Ravenloft did this, there's a couple of other settings did this as well. Basically, 1 year in real life would be 1 year in campaign world. So when a book came out the year later, it would have more up-to-date details of it, because it would have information of what had transpired over the last 12 months. So basically, Deadlands, say for example that Deadlands started at year dot, and that had been running for 10 years. I don't know the actual numbers behind it. But Deadlands Reloaded is effectively that 10-year gap afterwards, basically after all the hoo-ha, as it were. There is one exception to that rule, apparently. Apparently there is a Deadlands adventure which basically takes existing Deadlands characters and makes it transposes the entire campaign setting to the modern day version. And I'm assuming obviously ignores that. But you quite comfortably could set, because there is pretty much no difference between Deadlands year dot and Deadlands year 10, if that makes any sense. Rules wise, they have put a few tweaks in. They have changed how close combat works to make close combat more deadly, to bring it on par with what gunplay can do, because you do in the setting have people running around with tomahawks, things like that. So you can play your Native American brave and still kick some ass. There is a good set of rules which integrate both shamans, hucksters, which are again spellcasters. So all basically different kinds of spellcasters are available. A lot of the campaign specific professions like Pinkertons or Texas Rangers are pretty much down to edges, which are like merits and flaws. And yeah, oh, and they brought back the chip system. Now, Savage Worlds does use a Benny system, which is basically a invisible object, which is basically you can trade in for a reroll. Now, common practice is use poker chips. Now, expanding upon that, Deadlands Reloaded does have a Benny system, but it has a more complicated Benny system, whereby being... One moment. There we go. More complicated Benny system, whereby being you have a pool of chips. So many white, so many blue, so many red. And the white ones are the common ones, which are what bennies are in Savage Worlds, and the blue ones and the red ones have got better powers to them. And also the GM uses a similar pool as well. Obviously, however, he gets to put in... No, I do apologise, I'm getting confused. Yes, and every time you complete an adventure, a special Benny, I can't remember what colour it's supposed to be, I think it might be gold, but you can use anything really, is put into that pot at the end of every adventure, which you can trade in for Ubernus. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's an awful lot of fun. Unfortunately, as with most things in my time being at the moment, I only roleplay twice a week, and hopefully get that back up to 3 times a week soon. And basically, in the future, maybe I'll get to play a couple more games of this, because it is a lot of fun. As for long-term campaigns, I don't think Savage Worlds as a system is pretty suited for long-term campaigns. I reckon you can get a good few months of play out of it, like 6 months or so, but I don't think that the actual system can handle anything above that, because the progression of power is quite peculiar. Either way, if you like Deadlands, if you like Savage Worlds, and you want a much simpler, easier, and more importantly, available to buy system, then you can't go far wrong with Deadlands Reloaded. Thanks for your time, guys. Bye bye.